Hey everyone, Samsung's newest top flagship is the Galaxy Note20 Ultra. Its claim to fame is that super responsive stylus and a bunch of other features. You can check out our full review of it down in the description box down below. Overall, it's a great phone. But how is the camera experience? And is it any better than the already great S20 Ultra? I'm Angie for GS the Marina, and this is our camera review of the Galaxy Note20 Ultra. The Note20 Ultra has a triple camera setup, and the majority of it is the same as the S20 Ultras. You have the 108 megapixel main camera, which features 9:1 pixel binning and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide cam. The main difference is in the 12 megapixel periscope zoom lens. Here it has a native 5x zoom level, is stabilized, and has a wider aperture. There's also no time of flight camera, but there is laser autofocus instead. The added laser autofocus should supposedly improve autofocusing in close ranges compared to the S20 Ultra. We didn't see much of a difference in good light when comparing the two. The Note20 Ultra is the phone on the right here. Continuing the same setup, we compared the autofocus performance in low light too, at around 5 lux. Except for a slightly smoother autofocus response, our unscientific test did little to show any autofocus improvements with the Note20 Ultra. That said, we didn't see any issues in the S20 Ultra either. Photos from the main camera come out in 12 megapixels, and in daylight they have a very classic Samsung output. The colors are a bit warmer and more saturated than they are in reality. The main camera has a natural rendition of textures like grass, though the same could be said of the S20 Ultra with the latest software. However, on this phone, photos have practically no noise, which is really impressive. Shots are brighter than the Ultras and a little more contrasty, and the dynamic range is nothing short of excellent. The ultrawide has similar color performance as the main cam, and dynamic range is comparable to what you'll get on the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Detail is good, though not class-leading, as there are sharper ultrawides on competing phones. There is no autofocus on this camera, which means it can't double as a macro cam. Regardless, the sharpness and the lens correction are excellent. The new telephoto takes sharp 12 megapixel pictures at its optical 5x zoom. Once again, you're getting the signature Samsung colors and the excellent noise processing. Unsurprisingly, they are sharper than the S20 Ultra, which had a 4x optical zoom but defaults it to 5x. If you want 10x zoom, the Note20 Ultra's performance is a pleasant surprise. In fact, the photos are as good as the ones by the S20 Ultra, but with a more moderate sharpening applied. In low light, the main camera delivers better image quality across the board compared to the S20 Ultra. Dynamic range is wider, color saturation is even better preserved, and we notice more fine details, perhaps because the noise reduction is less aggressive. Night mode on the main camera delivers even more improvements in dark areas and better contained highlights with less haloing around light sources. We also found that it takes photos faster than the S20 Ultra, which was a nice and very useful surprise. The ultra-wide camera of the Note takes slightly more saturated colors than the S20, but otherwise the result is more or less the same. It's a good effort, but it doesn't quite compare with the main camera's performance. If you want to take advantage of the ultra-wide and low-light conditions, you should stick to night mode. It makes a dramatic difference with a huge bump in the resolve detail, nicer greenery, and less noise. Even the detail in the highlights is better retained. We were skeptical of how the periscope camera would fare in low light due to its smaller sensor, and unfortunately it matched our expectations. If there was less light available, the phone switched to the main camera and produced blotchy shots, while if there was more, the actual periscope was used. In those cases, shots had lively colors, a reasonably wide dynamic range, and a good amount of detail. If you switch on the night mode, the phone exclusively starts using the telephoto camera, and it makes a world of difference in scenes that were otherwise shot with the main cam. Unfortunately, when comparing the two cameras, the Note20 Ultra does significantly worse in the regular photo mode. While things are more evenly matched with night mode turned on, that's not exactly impressive considering the age difference of the two phone models. If you want to take a portrait photo, you'll need to go into the live focus mode. There is spectacular subject separation even when your subject has messy hair, and it's possibly the best we've ever seen. Bokeh rendition was also very nice, and the default setting is great for most scenarios. These also have a good dynamic range thanks to the HDR processing. If you want to use the live focus mode on non-human subjects, things are still good but a bit less impressive. On this aloe plant, for example, there are a few errors in the edge detection. With its 10 megapixel front-facing camera, the Note takes alright selfies. We prefer the wider view for both group shots and regular selfies. Detail is good, but colors are a bit bland and skewed slightly cold and greenish. The phone exposes shots with faces in mind, but even in high contrast scenarios, the dynamic range is excellent with the help of HDR. Videos on the Note20 Ultra are a particular focus of the phone. There is a newly improved Pro mode as well as a bunch of resolutions and frame rates that you can choose from. You can go up to 8K at 24 FPS, or you can shoot in 4K on all three cameras at 30 FPS. The Pro video mode gives you a lot of flexibility, and you can now control the zoom speed, which means you can pull off dramatic and smooth transitions easily. Sadly, it's limited to the main camera, so anything further than 2x zoom will look bad. 8K footage is still more of a novelty than a useful feature, and it's captured at a massive 600 megabytes per minute. While we can see more fine detail than when shooting in 4K, the file sizes are cumbersome to work with, and you probably won't be capturing most things in this mode. Not to mention, it only goes as high as 24 FPS. With the main camera, there's practically no video quality difference between 4K at 30 FPS and 4K at 60. The colors are warmer than what you see in real life, and the dynamic range is wide without it being too extreme. There's a lot of detail, although we notice some heavy sharpening and random textures. The ultra-wide had slightly more saturated footage, while the dynamic range remained wide, although the 4K footage isn't perfectly sharp on a pixel level. At 5x zoom, however, the telephoto kicks in and you get sharp and detailed 4K footage. At 10x zoom, you'll be better off avoiding 4K and sticking with Full HD videos, which hold up well. Stabilization on the Note20 Ultra is very dependable. It irons out walking nicely, and it won't hunt for focus, which would ruin otherwise good footage. Hands are handled nicely too. With the ultra-wide, footage is even smoother, and with a shorter focal length, you get even less shake. At 5x zoom, however, you'll definitely need a tripod. Although the phone does its best, it's still quite a long focal length for it to stabilize nicely. The Galaxy Note20 Ultra has an awesome set of cameras that's very versatile and performed quite well. In fact, in a lot of cases, it was actually better than the Galaxy S20 Ultra, despite the fact that on paper, they seem to be almost identical aside from the new periscope camera. But it's pretty clear that Samsung has made some improvements in their camera processing. So if you're considering the Note20 Ultra, you should know that the camera experience is yet another thing that makes this phone shine. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.